it is my pleasure to introduce our two podcasters, Arthur, who will be interviewing Lori today. This is an unscheduled impromptu podcast interview. We're just going to have a little bit of fun, and hopefully, we're going to learn more about Lori in this process. Take it away, Arthur. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here today. It's a great Sunday, even though it's raining outside, but we got the turtle tanks cleaned before the rain came. Lori, tell us where you're from.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on the part of the world where you are from. I am from the Caribbean, more specifically the Isle of Spice, Grenada. So I am all the way on the other side of the world from you.
Wow. So that's down in the middle of the Caribbean in the chain of islands, if you think of it as a chain.
It's a chain of islands, but I'm towards the lower end.
Yes.
Trinidad and Tobago is my neighbor.
Yes.
And you have South America, just Venezuela, just underneath us.
I'm a big fan of. I study Columbus's voyages, and it's interesting to see where he went in those islands. Have you visited the other islands around you? Have you done any travels around that
Not
area?
all of them, not
Wow.
all the islands, but just a little.
I had a friend who just went to St. Kitts, and I had never really heard of that before. What brought you to Toastmasters?
What brought me to Toastmasters? Interestingly, in 2012, one of my friends brought me to Toastmasters because she, looking at the Toastmasters, promised to bring others to Toastmasters so that they too can get the benefit of Toastmasters. She brought me to Toastmasters. However, I did not join Toastmasters in 2012. I came back in 2020, just as the pandemic was shooting up. So I have been here since 2020, enjoying the journey. So I can't say that I regretted it. But that seed that was planted in 2012 brought me back. Prior to that, I had a very embarrassing experience where I had to chair a session. My time, I wasn't good enough. I really needed that help. So I came back to Toastmasters for that. And I can say that I have gotten the support since coming back. I have improved quite a bit. And I look forward to continuous improvement, or continued improvement, I should say.
What rank are you in Toastmasters?
Just waiting on the DTM now.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
completed all the projects. So as the officer, I've done everything. So I'm just waiting for the official DTM.
That's so cool. Where are you located now?
I'm in Grenada right now.
Oh, okay. For some reason I thought you had moved from Grenada.
No, I am right here. What brought me to Podmasters? Because Podmasters is all the way on the other side of the world. I think one of the projects that I was doing for one of my parts the level 4 speaks about creating that podcast. And I found it very interesting. I wanted to find out more about it. So I searched Facebook, and just then Podmasters was in the process of being chatted, looking for persons to chat at the club. And I came in last year, around November last year. I came into Podmasters, so I'm actually a chartered member of the club.
Have you learned a lot from Podmasters?
Not as much as, because I have been away for a little bit, not as much as I should have learned.
I think you and I are in the same time zone because I'm in Florida. The picture in my background is the pier in Daytona Beach, Florida. So we both see similar part of the Atlantic. Do you do much aquatic? Do you swim? Do you?
I go to the beach. Funny that I'm living on an island completely surrounded by water. I can swim, but not a very strong swimmer. But I do go to the beach. I enjoy the beach very much.
That's good because I live here. I'm 5 miles from the beach, and yet I probably only get there once a year. So with it surrounding you, it must be such a siren call.
Yes, it's very beautiful.
Have you boated? Have you cruised around that area?
Cruised, yes. I particularly enjoy night cruises, though I've done the day as well.
Wow. Did, when you started with Toastmasters, did you find that you had some of the bad habits, the ones that Toastmasters helps you try and break?
Yes, I have bad habits. Interestingly, the accountant role, which was one of the first roles that I took up as a Toastmaster, it brings out that skill of active listening in you. So I've had to listen during the meeting for persons with ahs and ums and so. And even today, I'm still monitoring myself. I know I'm using them a bit, but I'm still monitoring myself for it. And interestingly, even while I'm not serving as the accountant at a meeting, in my everyday life, I find myself serving as an accountant, as well as a grammarian and a timer. So, yeah, yes.
I, I don't know if you get as frustrated as I do. I'm watching people who are being paid to speak. They're on TV or they're on the radio. And I'm like, have you never been to a Toastmasters meeting and had all your ahs counted? There, every
That's frustrating.
sentence is an ah. Did you find that? Oh,
Yes. Sometimes
it's
I have to remind myself that you're not in a Toastmasters meeting. Stop it.
yeah, that's true. So, what do you do for a living?
I am a high school teacher.
Ooh,
Yes.
you have a lot of. How many students do you have?
Wow. That might be difficult to count because our education system is where you have forms rather than, so you have a high school which goes for, I think for you it will be about grade 7. We
Okay.
have from 1 to 5, and I do teach across the levels from Form 1 to Form 5. So it depends on how many students. Right now we have a population of almost 600 in the school. So yes,
Wow. So how old are the students that you teach?
they're between 11 and 18. Some might be, one or two might be just a little older, but generally between 11 and 18.
So do you have things like proms like we have in the
Yes.
US? You have when all the students go there. Have you had to uh, be a proctor or a chaperone for a prom?
No, we call it ball here, a graduation ball.
Uh-huh.
But it is not necessary for me to be a chaperone for the ball. It is voluntary if I want to attend the ball. So if I attend the ball, I will do some supervision, but I'm not mandated to do it.
I the when they have them around here, they worry about how do I put it, student interactions and uh, so it's very interesting. What subject do you teach?
That's an interesting question. I teach the sciences. I do an amalgamation of the sciences called integrated science. But oftentimes I can do the biology, chemistry, and physics. I also do agricultural science, and I teach literature.
Wow. See, because I live what I call a science-based life, and I watch so many things out there that are not science. What's the strangest thing that students have asked you in a science class?
I can't think of it right now. I can't think of the strangest thing they have asked me right now.
The strangest thing I find are the flat Earth folks that they claim the Earth is flat, and they come up with bad science to try and prove it. I don't know if you
I don't really get that. I don't really get that on my end because I'm not so much heavily based on the geography. So I don't really get that on my end. Yes.
I love geography. That's how come I knew where Grenada was. And
yes.
Now it's an independent country.
Yes, it is. We just celebrated 50 years of independence in February.
Wow. Because some of those islands are owned is a bad word, but some of them are French protectorates. Some of them are British protectorates.
Yes.
The British Virgin Islands, the
Virgin Islands, yeah.
And it's,
I think,
oh, excuse me so much. And what are there various other languages spoken in Grenada?
In Grenada, we mainly speak Creole, English.
Ooh.
Many persons do not consider it a first language, but actually it is a first language. The standard English, which we are taught in at school, will be our second language. There was the patois, French patois, or French Creole, which died out. But mainly we do speak Creole English or standard English. So it is English speaking.
As we're recording this, the Olympics are just winding up. Did Grenada have an Olympic team this year?
Yes, we did. We actually come back with 2 bronze medals. One in the, yes, per capita, it seems as though Grenada would have taken the cake as number 1 in the world. So we are coming back with 2 bronze medals. We were looking forward to another one from Kirani James, who is a 400-meter star athlete. But unfortunately, he did not make the medal podium this year. But we are very proud to have had him represent us, to give us a whole match instead. Gold, silver, and bronze in the past 3 Olympics. So we're proud of that.
Well, that's neat. Because we were watching all of the athletes march into it, and they didn't identify them very well. I'm like, what country is that? What country is that? Because I don't have all the flags memorized. Geography is one thing, but the flags is something else.
You can't miss the Grenada flag. There's that nutmeg on it. You cannot miss it. Yes.
There's nutmeg on the flag.
Nutmeg on the flag.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So do you have a philosophy or a catchphrase that helps you when times are tough and you tell yourself whatever that is?
Yes, there is. One of my favorite quotes, I do not remember who the author is or who said it. One of my favorite quotes is, a wise man lives by the same advice he gives to others. Sometimes when I'm tempted to give up, I remember all the times I tell my students, you cannot. And it pushes me to do better. Wise man.
I'm going to steal that from you. I think that's neat because so many people give advice that they don't follow themselves.
Yeah. Before I open my mouth to give advice, I always remind myself what I want to live by this. So, yes.
Yeah, I'll often put a disclaimer. Now, you shouldn't follow this unless you think it's what you want, but this is what I might do. in your situation. Do you have some goals in the short term, in the future?
Yes, I do. Are you talking Toastmasters or life in general?
Life in general.
Life in general. I have some goals. Right now, I'm in the process of planning for building a house. So that is where a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
energies go. Yes. But for Toastmasters, I'm looking at giving all my clubs a path for the year. So I do have some work cut out for me. I'm a part of 6 clubs.
How many clubs are you over? You said all your
And
clubs. How many clubs are
6.
you? 6.
Yes,
Well, the little red light tells us that
it is.
we're just about at the end. I meant to ask you your actual title, and you're the you're an
Area
area
director of Area
director,
82,
District 82.
Division G. Yes.
Well, that is great. Lori, it was great speaking with you, and I hope everything goes well.
Thank
We
you.
will turn it back over to our in charge person.
Thank you. It was nice speaking to you as well.
Nice to see you.
Or in charge person. I like that. Well, thank you so much for. Well, I suppose I should probably stop my timer as well.
So mad I had to cough in the middle of that.
It happens. Well, for an impromptu interview, I thought that went really well. The pacing was very good between both of you. I thought the pauses for thinking about answers or the next question went well. Both of you infused humor throughout. I some of the language and the words that were used, I enjoyed that. Siren call. I like that one, siren call. When you were talking, Lori, about the land of the spices, I went to a Jimmy Buffett tribute concert last week, and one of his songs, the Island of the Spices. I just so that's what I thought of there. A couple of things, Arthur, that maybe doing a little bit more of the expansion on the question when you were starting to talk about the proms and then the graduation balls that they had. I was waiting to hear a little bit more from you on where we have to have that little bit of separation, physical space between the individuals. Made me think of a friend of mine at their high school. One of the chaperones, she had a stuffed duck. She's got to have room for the duck, room for the duck, room for the duck. If they were getting a little bit too close, I thought something like that of how do you try to prevent some of the closeness or intimacy on the dance floor would have been interesting.
Oh, that's funny.
It is. Well, and then the other one, but I think it comes from a book. You always have to leave room for the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost between you. I did not go to a Catholic high school, but it could have been in one of the books I read. But the duck was my friend Annie at her high school. I will write something up for evaluation, just generic evaluation for both of you, and then you can plug that into your path for any of the projects that you're looking to fill. I do recommend not putting it in for a level 4 or level 5 because those normally involve much more work than a level 1, 2, or 3. But I've done quite a few my level 1, 2, and 3s with the generic and the impromptu. Well, seeing as we have no more people who have showed up, what would you think about? I know we normally don't do table topics here, but when I was at convention in Colorado, pre-COVID, my last convention, I got a stack of table topic cards from Spiegel, who was one of the sponsors, and they're all kind of almost tech topic questions. You want to run through a couple of these, and we don't even need the time. We'll just answer till you're ready. We'll do maybe 2 rounds, and then we can end early for them today, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
All right. So I will mix them up.
Mm.
I did pull out some of the more fun ones. All right, first question. Let's give this one to Arthur because he's not on mute. What is the secret to balancing social media time? What is the secret to balancing social media time?
That is a very tough question because I am trying to find the answer to that. I spend much more time on social media than I should. And when I look at things I want to get done, it's like if I didn't spend as much time on Facebook, I could get some of these other things done. I want to be a drone pilot. I want to get the test passed and study for that. So I could be sitting there studying rather than looking at what my friend had for dinner last night. And it's getting really bad with all the politics stuff where all sides are just posting basically lies that have been debunked on all around. And yet they don't seem to care or they don't look it up. And that's why in the interview I mentioned science, because a lot of people, they don't think about the real world. They just live in whatever world they live in. And so if I ever figure out the answer to balancing social media, you will be the first one I will let know.
I appreciate that. I know I am on my phone way too much. Part of my job is being on social media. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 social media sites I'm in charge of at work. But then with Toastmasters, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 between all the different clubs and even clubs I don't belong to. I am doing their social media. One of the clubs they made me join because I was taking over because they didn't have the membership numbers. And so I started doing their social media and their Facebook page because their Facebook page has not been updated in a while. And their club president sent me an email one morning, Chris, please do me the honor of letting me pay for your membership. And since I outrank you, you are not allowed to say no. And she outranked me because I only went as far as district director. She had been a past international director. So I graciously accepted on the condition that I am officially their VP of PR. So just
That's funny.
all right. Lori, we're going to put some age on you here.
Oh,
What is your earliest memory of using the internet? What is your earliest memory of using the internet?
That's an age question. This is going to be giving away my age. I think my earliest memory of using the internet would be about 12. And that is not in the too distant past. While growing up in the 90s, the internet was not something that was readily accessible to everyone. More so when you talk about persons were still using typewriters when I was born. Then they came into the computers and before it became widely available, I think one of the first places that I would have used the internet was at school because they were bringing it into the school for computer literacy. So that was one of the first places I would have used the internet in the 90s. I am not telling you in the 90s when, but yes, it would have been at school. That's my first encounter with the internet and having to go out and looking at your messenger and everybody's on messenger because it is now a cool tool for everyone. Keeping up with what is happening with persons after you leave the school, because before even with the cellular phones creeping in, everybody wasn't an owner. But when you have the internet and you're able to go on Messenger and all of that, persons were interested in what is going on. What did this person say? What did that person say? What is happening? So yes, that's my earliest memory of it.
Okay, wonderful.
Oh.
September 1994, I started working at a company. It was a software development firm, and they did, TCP/IP and motherboards, and they were involved in so many different avenues of the internet. And at that time too, they worked with a lot of the companies out in Silicon Valley. This is in little town of Mequon, Wisconsin. And they were working on the electronic signatures back at that time, even though it didn't go into effect. They worked with one of the search browsers, Lycos, at that time. And we actually got the internet and we put it onto a CD because most people had dial-up at that time. And I remember AOL and the connection is, oh my goodness. But yeah, it was interesting.
Oh, I got to answer that one too.
Oh, please do. Yes.
In the late 80s and early 90s, I worked for General Electric here in Daytona Beach. They had a big plant, and I was a contractor, so I didn't have to follow all the regular employee rules, which was always fun. But in the 80s, the internet was only available to companies, and the aerospace companies were all on there, and there were other companies and such. And in those, I was a systems administrator, so I actually kind of helped the internet go along. And in those days, the number of systems was small enough that it was a community of folks that I knew, the sysadmins that worked for another company local, and they knew me. And if one of our users sent spam, oh my gosh, that was a deadly sin. So I would get an email from one of the other admins saying, hey, check out so-and-so. He sent this email. It's not supposed to be, because you weren't supposed to send commercial email at all. So we'd have a talk, and it's like, if you do it again, you're going to lose your email privileges. That was the neat part of being about the systems administrator. You were like God. I could turn you off. You wouldn't be able to use your computer, so you didn't want to get me mad. And I was different than a lot of the sysadmins in those days, because there was a help desk system, and you had the people that did the actual work. And a lot of those people that were sysadmins did not want to be bothered by folks with minor problems. And their phrase in reply to how do I do this would be RTFM, read the foolish manual. And I couldn't do that because I like to help people, but there were other folks that were more hermity that would sit in the corner, and nobody knew what they did, but they were keeping the computers running. And if you bothered them, it was RTFM. So I was on the internet back before people even knew it existed. And we didn't have, we had AOL was out, but you were only on AOL. I don't think they even had email yet. It was just, you were online with AOL, and they had all of the services. So I would dial into the company's computers, and then I could go anywhere. I used to have, before the internet, I would dial bulletin boards all over the country. And my wife had a talk with me when I had
to explain a bulletin board to Lori. Her head tilted, like, what?
A bulletin board was like a messaging system where you had a menu that said, here's what people are talking about. And you would go on and you would add, or you would just read what uh, somebody else said. Usually there could only be one person connected to the bulletin board at a time. You would dial it up with your phone modem. You would sometimes you would download all the messages and then you would be off. Other times you could read the messages live. It depended on the individual bulletin board, and some of them had themes, and they were all over the country. And my wife had a talk with me when we had the phone bill for $100 because I'm dialing these places. And remember, in those days, you had long distance calls. And so it was, yeah, okay. I won't call Chicago anymore from because that bulletin board is not any good anyway. And
Sunday morning at 7 a.m.
Yeah. So it was interesting. There was a lot of different subcultures on the bulletin boards. There was a fella here locally who ran one that was in a kids what it was kind it was kind of like a kids home where they sent kids, instead of sending them to jail, they would be sentenced to spend months in this place. It was kind of like jail but wasn't. So he was trying to teach them skills. They were late teens, not adults yet. So he was doing stuff to teach them skills, and he was teaching them how the bulletin board operated so that they could have some computer skills. And it did pretty well. But bulletin boards basically went away about 93. And some of them actually went online so you could get to them from the internet. But it's not the way people like to communicate nowadays. So I go way back. I'm surprised how far it's come. I get so mad about spam. I guess it's historic, and I went on from the working at the aerospace. I ended up in the education business because I was driving an hour each way to go to work. And I'm like, I want to be closer to home. And so I got one that was only 30 minutes from home because my son was now growing up and fun to play with. So, I would get home at 10 o'clock at night and it's like, oh yeah, he's in bed. So I went into the education business and watched the computer stuff change so drastically there. Universities like to have openness. And so our mail transfer system, email, was open. Didn't require any passwords. You just logged on and sent your email. And we're in Daytona Beach, or actually we were in DeLand, which is near Daytona Beach. And some clown in Miami, about 300 miles away, found our open mail relay and started sending his spam. I tracked him down to an office in Miami, but I couldn't get anybody to act on it. Spam is not something that the cops really want to get involved with in those days. So we ended up having to put locks and passwords, so it wasn't open anymore. And people that the fun part was explaining it to my bosses, who were like, well, we're a university, we're supposed to be open. Like, yeah, you want them sending these messages that are just spam and some of them sexual. If you want that, then we'll keep it open. So loads of fun.
It just seems like some of that has gotten worse. It just, anytime you find some fix, you got something else. And I don't understand the joy in trying to ruin some of these things for so many people.
It's just everybody out for themselves, trying to make a buck, thinking they can do it. Yep. You send out 5 million emails, and if only 5 people respond and you manage to steal $1,000 from each of them, you've made some money. It's very sad.
Yes.
But you had me thinking, because you were talking TCP/IP and all of that, and I'm like, oh my. I just remember the days when I could sit at the keyboard and just type that stuff out from memory without having to look it up in charts like I do nowadays, because I don't do it all the time.
Did you ever tell people that they had ID10T errors?
Yes, that was one of our favorites.
Picnics.
Yeah, yeah. We there's one guy used to tell folks that he thinks there's an error between the keyboard and the person, or something like that. So that we had. I almost quit, actually, because I was working for one university and they brought me a list of 40,000 emails addresses. And they said, well, we're sending messages to these folks. I said, I am not going to send these messages. And they didn't know how to respond to me. And my boss said, call me in. What's the problem? I said, this is spam. I am not going to be involved in spam. I hate it. Mm-hmm. And then he said the words that made me do it, which he said, well, these are all opt-in. These are all people that signed up and they know they're getting mail from the university. I said, oh, why didn't they tell me that? That makes a difference, because if you signed up for it, then it's not spam. And
I'm going to find out it wasn't
really spam. It was a message about the university. But if you're just sending something to a bunch of people, it's still spam, even if it's a good message. It's just, you shouldn't be sending it without being opted in. And that's
right.
An important thing.
Okay.
But nowadays we watch what goes on. I have, people that should know better. They get the messages pop up because some website says, oh, your computer's infected. Call this number right away. Mm-hmm. And they actually give some guy in India access to their computer. So everything that's on there, they can get to.
Exactly.
It's very, very frustrating, because
I agree.
They call me afterwards. Oh, can you fix this? Nope. They got your password to your bank account. We need to make sure that we can change it and that they can't get it again.
Right.
Because they'll often add themselves as another email.
Yep. All right. Well, on that pleasant note, we're going to finish up and wrap up our meeting here today. Would any of you, all of our wonderful people online here, what roles would you like to hold next Sunday, August 18th? Or if you won't be here, that's fine
next
too.
Sunday. Next Sunday, 18th. Can I be podcaster number 3? I think I'm going to do my icebreaker.
Ooh,
absolutely.
That would be neat.
All right. I will, so 4 to 6 minutes. All right. And then Arthur, what would you like to do next week?
Let me do the PSA.
All right. Okay. And then I think I'll be podcaster 1, and I'll find somebody to interview. And I'll send out the email and see if other people would like to sign up for roles, and we'll just kind of play it by ear. If Paul does not respond back, I'll create a special Zoom link again for next week Sunday and include that, sending it out.
I'm going to poke him and see what happened. he came in a couple of weeks ago. He came in like at right about now in the meeting. So
Right.
I
That was
was
last week.
What
Yeah.
time zone
watching.
is he on? What's his time zone?
Mm,
He's in Washington, I think.
he's on
So
Pacific
he's on
time.
Pacific time.
Hmm.
But he had said too, he got wrapped up in his own stuff and just didn't make it in for the meetings.
Yeah, absent-minded professor.
I can
All
also
right.
be on the hot seat next week. So,
Okay.
and you know, apart from the podcast of 3, I can also take it up.
Okay, perfect. I'll add you as that as well. Okay, perfect. Well, then I think we are going to adjourn our meeting today. Arthur did send you the email with the link for the information on District 18 for August 24. The
Okay.
31st, when I double checked, was in person, so that one won't work for you. If the 24th doesn't work, just do an online. Ooh, turtles. Sorry.
Yeah, I figured since I have
get
I have the
distracted.
movable camera, I figured I'd make the
Nice.
turtles famous.
There we go. I love it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if you need the 24 doesn't work, just do a search, Toastmaster Club Officer Training, and options come up then.
Okay.
The 23rd is also an option, which would be online for District 7. So he also has that option.
What
Okay.
time of day is that?
Let me check to see what time it is. It is at 7, but that will be Pacific time, so that will be about 10 o'clock in the evening.
Ooh, very late.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds interesting.
All right, happy people. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy your week. I'm on vacation, so be happy for me.
Wow.
So am I. So am I. We are happy people.
Yes,
Oh.
my plan for this week is to learn and play around with doing editing video so I can use that because I want to get going on my podcast. So I'm ready. I got my ideas and stuff, but I want to play with editing videos a little bit.
I can tell you a good program.
What is yours?
Corel Video. It's
Is it for Mac or regular?
it's for both, but it's my brain just went away.
Corel.
Corel. I just got a email for they have it on sale, and I like it better. Some folks will tell you you should get the Adobe Photoshop, and that is expensive
Okay.
and hard to use.
Okay. All right. Looks like Corel Video Studio Ultimate.
That's it. The Ultimate gives you extra stuff with it, but I can't find the email. But I got one that they were having a sale for $39, and it's a one-time thing. There's no monthly stuff.
Okay.
It gives you several lines where you can put your video. I don't know if you saw my podcast stuff. I did one on Ponce de Leon and the one on Columbus. Or no, I did Magellan and Ponce de Leon. And so even though it's not full motion video, you can still use it to put pictures, and it's just a real good editor.
Okay. Okay. Can you send me the links to those? And are you okay if I put that out on the club website?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
I'll I'll find the
All right, thank
email
you. Okay.
that has the link for the inexpensive because it's only for a short time.
Okay, perfect. All right. I look forward to seeing those. And I'm gonna go check out this neat little new camera maybe I'm gonna get.
I like it. I mean, it seems to do a good job. Lori wasn't there when I was talking about how it has zoom and I can become the big giant head. Ooh. Oops. Now it's gone. Up there it goes. But I was,
If you use that feature though, you need to make sure the nose hairs are trimmed.
yeah. But I was tired because my camera was normally way back here and I didn't like looking so tiny
Mm-hmm.
in the picture because it was like down. Yeah, I was trying to get it. Yeah. So it was a little bit like that. And so I got the arm. Oops. There we go. I was I was showing Chris also that I was trying to do some fancier stuff because there's a green screen over there that's supposed to mount on the back of the chair. And for me, as soon as my chair moves, the thing falls off.
Yeah, there's mine. It's just way
Oh
back there
yeah.
though. I need to reset it up.
It looks like
There's
the
the wine
exact same one.
collection too, and
Oh, that's neat. So
but the bed is made in here for a change, so that's a good.
ah,
Doesn't
I
happen
got
real often.
back there is my collection. Behind the turtles is a collection of my sci-fi autograph pictures.
Okay.
We're big sci-fi fans. We do Stargate, Star Trek, Star Wars, and we've met many of the stars from the various franchises. So
Okay.
it's trying keeping up. But I
All
like
right.
this sparkly background you got.
Yep. It's one of the Centennial ones from the Toastmasters site.
Okay. I'm gonna have to go and look.
Yep.
I guess they have a lot of little stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It has a
I think
line across the middle though. That's
it does. It's weird.
weird. Yeah.
But they've got a couple different ones for the 100 year. So yeah, play with it a little bit. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you so
All
much. We
right.
will see you next week.
It was great talking with you guys, and hopefully we will see you next week.
All right. Take care.
I always forget where the leave button is. Oh, there it is. Come on.